we go into this topic that we are dealing with, that is child sexual abuse, that we want the things that we should know. I have written a book on the protection of minors for our purposes, for the purposes of teachers, priests, religious, and all, especially those who are engaged with the children. What we should be knowing about this aspect of protection of minors. We are going to deal only a few things that today within an hour and a little more than that. That's all what is available for us. But for details, of course, go into it. And I suggest also that from every our institution, a few people should attend also for a longer course, which is conducted here in Sannyasa Institute of Consecrated Life in Bangalore. So yeah, we have only conducted one program there. There were around 80 participants or 90 or so participants from all over India. Some teachers, professors, and all attended this, and some of them were so glad that they saw the need of it, and also started some courses in the colleges like St. Pius College in Hyderabad, etc., on the protection of minors. So, because it is so important and relevant today. So, what are the things? A few things that we are going to deal today is to introduce you first of all this protocol that the clinician province of Bangalore has already introduced, and you were also asked to be participants in this, signing also your commitment to this. But before that, we should know what is the background is. So today we are going to deal is basically to give you some information about child sexual abuse, where we have put it CSS, child sexual abuse. So to know what is child sexual abuse, what are the impacts of child sexual abuse on the victims of this, and what are the possibilities of healing. But today, of course, we are not going to see much of it because we don't have time. But we are more interested to see also what is the response that we can make today in our society, in our schools, in our campus, etc. Okay. So commitment to protect the children, that is what we are interested. Of course, together with that, we ourselves should be also refraining from any type of abuse. So how to create an environment, safe environment for the children where we are placed. That is our main purpose today. Well, this is a major problem, calling it for our serious attention. Some months back, a sister, a teacher, okay, but she's also a sister, religious sister, who is very young, who is just made her entry into the school as a teacher, and then she came to me telling about a problem that she was facing. The problem is that in her class there was a child who was crying. So as she called her privately and asked, "What is the problem with you?" So this child was finding very difficult to express anything, but finally she asked this question to sister. Sister, why is he doing it to me? Why is he doing it to me? So the sister was so surprised. She did not know what the child was speaking, and of course she engaged with her to see what is the problem. Then only she understood what she meant was that her own daddy was sexually abusing her. This little child, maybe around 10 years or 8 years old, schoolgirl, and sister was very perplexed and did not know that there's a problem at home, that this girl's father was sexually abusing her, and sister did not know how to respond actually. Suppose this is a thing that comes to you, you may also feel somewhat the same thing. I'm sure some of you also might have encountered similar situations, facing children who are who are lamenting about something that is happening at home or elsewhere, or where she was abused, etc. So we are trying to see what we can do to do about this problem. First of all, in dealing with all these cases individually, that is a big thing where we need a lot of preparation actually, isn't it? But we all staff members or people who are in one way or other connected to children can contribute something to change the situation to better situation. Okay, so this is our concern. So this child sexual abuse is a rampant problem all over. It's a world problem. It is not a problem just that we see here or there. It is all over there. Instances of child sexual abuses at home, that we call it incest, when the sexual relationship is between family members, blood relationships, we call it an incest in the family, isn't it? So this is very common all over the world. It is found. Say that there are cases of teachers, let's coach sexualizing the relationship with the team members or students. Day for yesterday in the Deccan Herald, okay, 3rd July 2021, I got just put that in the side. The Boy Scouts to pay $850 million in settlement to sex abuse victims. So see, this is happening all over the world, and it's a problem rampant everywhere. How much money is to be spent for abuse cases? What is that there? The Boy Scouts of America announced on Friday that they have reached an agreement, 850 million settlement with the tens of thousands of victims of sexual abuse by Scout leaders. See that how many people, how many children are abused by them. You would also remember in the recent times there were also a lot of news, film stars coming out telling that me too, I too was abused. So they wanted to bring to the awareness of the people at large in the world that this abuse problem is a major problem, and they became these actresses and all who had these abuse experiences. They came out to tell, oh, I was also abused, in order to bring greater awareness to the people of this problem, and we need to we need to do something about it. It is said that before a girl or boy reaches 18 years old, 1 in 6 boys experience some form of sexual abuse. 1 in 4 girls experience some form of sexual abuse. And that means around 8 to 31% of girls, 3 to 17% of boys are sexually abused. Okay, this is about the sexual abuse globally. In Asia, the problem is rampant also, and you know that there is a lot of sexual tourism and all in the eastern side of Asia, particularly countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, Myanmar, many other countries in the Asian countries are destinations for a sexual tourism. Their children are also engaging themselves, though it is not they cannot be publicly doing it or give it. Earlier they used to even advertise these things, but now the laws do not permit that. But these are going on all over. So there is a increase of entertainment venues, including bars and brothels, where they make use of children also for sexual pleasures, offering such things to the people. And in these times of Corona times, online sexual exploitation was increasing, because directly going to it was difficult. Online sexual exploitation was already existing. I was in the Philippines for last 5 years or so, and I found that in many parts, poor parts of Philippines, even the parents are making money, engaging their own children for producing sexual videos and uploading, etc. They don't know the impact of this on the children. So it's a great tragedy that these things are happening in our country as well as elsewhere. So we cannot be happy only in India. You know, India is actually, according to the statistics. What is said is that the largest number of cases of child sexual abuse is in India. So we read about child rape and child sexual exploitation in the papers daily. And then India leads the world as a country with the maximum cases of child sexual exploitation. statistics show that in India, every 155 minutes, a child under 16 years of age is raped. So much of this is not coming out. Parents are scared about telling it out, isn't it? Because it involves their name, the family name, and all that. Because of social stigma that are there. So many of these cases are not coming in, but in fact, this is the reality that we are facing. So according to some of the statistics in India, it is said that around 53% of children, okay, 53% of children in India face some form of child sexual abuse. According to the National Crime Records Bureau, the cases of rape and murder of children increase every year. So this is a situation that we are in. India cannot take any pride that we are better off than any, but we are worse than any other country, in fact, in this matter. When the government statistics is telling that 53% are having this, they are abused. So this is a call for attention. Okay, as abuses are increasingly reported all over, newspapers are producing, but you remember that in our Indian context, not many dare to bring it out. There is no thing like Me Too revelations happening in India. We are ashamed to do it, and so it remains rather a secret thing that is happening in the families. But recently, anyway, we are lucky enough to have brought out the POCSO Act of 2012, which is bringing out a lot of stringent actions against those people who are abusing children. So we need to be aware, first of all, as we people who are engaged with children. So the question that I want to ask you is, are we aware of the huge impact of child sexual abuse on the life of the children? How much has become a concern, this concern for you? How safe are our environment today for the children, our campuses, our homes? How to make the world a safer place for children? So this is the call that we are making. This is what our government was also intending when POCSO Act of 2012 was brought in. Right at the introduction of POCSO law, it says sexual exploitation and sexual abuse of children are heinous crimes and need to be effectively addressed. The POCSO Act of 2012 is a comprehensive law to provide for the protection of children from the offenses of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and pornography, while safeguarding the interests of children at every stage of the judicial process by incorporating child-friendly mechanisms for recording evidence, investigation, and speedy trial of offenses through designated special courts. So this is what is said there in the POCSO Act, the introductory paragraphs. But our interest, so we as a part of or collaborating with church institutions, what should be our responses? Government has done something, but as church institutions, we have greater responsibility also, because our ideals and values certainly stands high and want to protect the children and create a good environment, safe environment for the children. Claretian Mission, as we as participants in the Claretian Mission, I want to enlighten also on our commitment as Claretians. Okay, congregational level, as a universal congregation, Claretians present in more than 68 countries today in the world. So in general, we are making also a commitment as part of the church. Okay, so in 2019, February 21 to 24, there was a summit in Rome, in Vatican, on the protection of minors, where Pope himself participated all the 4 days. See, he gave so much importance to this. Okay, so Pope himself, as well as major leaders from Catholic Church from all over, the heads of the national Catholic Church of every country was present in Rome for this meeting. Also, there were people who were giving talks on this problem, as well as the victims sharing their experiences, and 4 days summit it was. So much importance was given by the church, by the Catholic Church on this issue, because it has come to realize that is a major problem that is ailing in the church as well as all over the world. And it's not only a matter that there were some cases, of course, in the church itself, in church institutions, there were cases of abuses were brought in, and the media made it a big issue. It's not only because of that. Because of that, we came to know that all over the world, this is a major problem children are facing. So we need to attend to it. To respond to it, Pope himself told, we need, as Catholic Church is trying to bring effective means to bring effective strategies that will discourage the commission of sexual abuses by our members, okay, as well as people working for us. This is our Claretian responses, we may say. Okay, responding to Pope Francis's call, that we are responding to it. Okay. Pope has called us for eight programs. He says we need to make change our mentality itself. So sometimes we are thinking, oh, what will happen to our name and fame, our institutions? More than that, we need to consider, according to Pope, the victims, their pain and suffering. So our first priority is to attend to the victims, to recognize the seriousness of this matter, the sins and crimes that we are committing. So he has pointed about 8 things that are important for our consideration. He said also the accompaniment of, it is important to accompany those people who are victims, abused by the others, any of people. So abuse with an emphasis on listening. So we was telling, attend to the victims. So it's very important. And we need to combat the sexual tourism and other things that are happening in the world. Do you see this man in the left corner? Is Father Matthew Batameta, who is our general of the Claretian congregation, the commander-in-chief, so to say, the Claretians all over the world. Person from India, we are glad that he is there. He, from the congregation, recently they have produced a handbook how to address these issues. Vidimecum is offered to the congregation of the Claretian missionaries and all those who collaborate or work with us in order to make more transparent the proclamation of the gospel that all disciples of Christ must proclaim through preaching and witness of life. So he is emphasizing, when we are giving nice values, what Jesus has given, we cannot be going against the values of Christ, values that he has proclaimed, abusing children, or we cannot be just neglecting, we cannot be closing our eyes towards what is happening in the world. When the most vulnerable persons are abused, we have to come to their aid, isn't it? So that is what is said in this handbook that is produced by the congregation. I don't go into those details, but remember that we have a handbook, how to deal with the cases, how to bring about also an atmosphere of safety for children in our campuses, etc. That's what is highlighted there. Okay. So we as Claretians of this congregation, and we as a province of Bangalore, we are also committing ourselves to this larger vision of the Claretian congregation and a larger vision of the church also. So that is why we have given a protocol now for practicing in our campuses, and all of you are also supposed to to be part of this commitment. Okay, so in this protocol for protection of minors, it is stated Province of Bangalore joins with the congregation in its commitment to assume the demands of the mission entrusted to it, to defend and protect the minors in our care from any kind of abuse, and to offer them a safe environment in which they can develop and form themselves peacefully and harmoniously as persons and as Christians, okay, as human persons first of all. Okay. So in the 10th provincial chapter that was conducted last December in Bangalore, we have made concrete statements how we make our commitment. In the 10th provincial chapter of Bangalore province declared is resolved for creating safe environment for minors and vulnerable adults in all our communities and places of ministry by implementing the policies for the protection from child sexual abuse. Okay, so policies that now you are aware also. I think you might have already read this this protocol that were given to you, and you are also supposed to sign up for that. So sign it and tell that we are committed to it. Formulating a common policy for the prevention of such abuses, we have already made that. Abiding by the state laws and the guidelines of the church. It also resolved for educating our missionaries, students, teachers, and other members of the staff on this issue. So this today's seminar is part of that, educating also our staffs, students, teachers, and other members who are working in our institute, organizing seminars and short courses. So this is very limited, of course, this 1.5 hours is very little, but we will have probably more. Therefore, Bangalore province pledges to provide a safe environment for all in all her centers, environment for in all her centers where ethical boundaries are safeguarded with maximum vigilance. The province demands from all her collaborators commitment to this pledge. So we have made a protocol. This protocol of prevention and action against sexual abuse is for all clinicians of the province of Bangalore and to those who collaborate and work with us. That is where you are also involved in it. As an instrument to assure safety and protection for children and vulnerable persons and to respond with clarity and decisiveness in case of its violation. If some cases come, so we have to do it with transparency and action should be taken. So the goals of these guidelines are given that I skip this so that we can go for more important aspects. So you can read all those that is there also in the goals of these guidelines, etc., in the protocol itself. Okay. So what we are telling, so I want to introduce what is this child sexual abuse now. So we know that sexuality is a wonderful thing. God has created it so wonderfully, nice thing, isn't it? Okay, let me see. Okay, so beautiful. Sexuality is part of the good things God has created. God has created and offers humans with marvelous possibilities for life, full of warmth and happiness, building up caring and loving relationships. So you have Adam and Eve there. And the animals. So this is a wonderful thing of the good creation of God. But what is good can be abused. That is the problem. There is a challenge that comes to us. On the other side of the good that can be positively used has always a possibility also being abused. So that is the reality that we experience in child sexual abuse. Jesus was welcoming the children. He wanted to bless them. He wanted to protect them. So when we speak of sexual maturity, it includes also healthy relationship with not only with the adults, but also with the children. So caring of the children is an important ministry for all of us then, because we are in the mission that Jesus has given to us through the church and through the congregation today. So our interest is for first of all, prevention, so that not to happen these things. Prevention is better than cure, we say. And that, okay, after something happened, we are running after and making it a big issue sometimes and giving a lot of media attention. Some cases, not all cases. But much better would have been that we are creating an atmosphere where children are safe, there is no such incidents happening. But unfortunately, that is not the case. If more than 50% of our children are in danger of child sexual abuse, what is the situation that we are facing here? So we need to know what are the factors that is leading to child sexual abuses. So we say that, okay, what is the attitudes of the people? What is in our society, particularly with domination of men and all over the women and children are considered just like their property, and also they can do anything and anything with the children. This type of basic the assumptions that we have, there is a lot of possibility for abuses that might happen. So whether we can bring about an internal transformation, value inculcation in the people, that this is a very big evil. So can we do that? Even if I think we can intervene for a transformation. That is where we want you also to be participant. But where it is not possible, we need to have external controls. That is where protocol comes. Okay, you don't do this, etc. We say as bringing external control, situational controls that we can bring in. So we have produced that way code of conduct in places in our institutes and places, which is what we call that protocol. So what is this child sexual abuse? We are aware of this happening all over, isn't it? The danger. So how do we define? So the definition of child sexual abuse is that sexual abuse by any adults, sexual abuse of children, children are those persons who are less than 18 years old, one who has not yet reached the 18th birthday. So children who are abused by or having sexual contact, sexual act by an adult, those people who are above 18 is called child sexual abuse. So it concerns any sexual activity, not only sexual penetration, but also words with also we can abuse through gestures, through actions, even with a clear initiative to abuse that is indicated. This all are abusive behaviors. So let's look into what the POSCO Act tells. POSCO Act defines a child as any person below 18, as universally it is also. UNO has made it so also, and all the countries who are in a part of UNO now have accepted this 18 years as the cutoff years for childhood, 18 years as the adulthood. So anybody who is sexually encountered below 18 by an adult is a child sexual abuse. According to our national law is also like that. And it defines different forms of sexual abuse, including penetrative and non-penetrative assaults, as well as sexual harassment and pornography, and deems a sexual assault to be aggravated under certain circumstances. That means if certain people are doing, like people in authority, like those teachers and people who are in some way priests, etc., when abuse, or police people, military people, they are abusing, it is, the punishment is aggravated, it is more serious. So assault to be aggravated under certain circumstances, such as when the abused child is mentally ill. So we call it vulnerable adults. In the church terminology, we call them vulnerable adults. So they are also equally considered as children. But according to our law here, it becomes only an aggravated thing if the child is mentally ill and then that child is abused, the punishment will be bigger. So in the church, even if the person is above 18, they are considered equal to children because they are not able to make their own decisions and manage their own life because of their capacity for making decisions or to run away from problems of this sort of force abuses here happening. So when the abuse is committed by a person in position of trust or authority, vis-a-vis the child, like a family member, police officer, teacher. I have highlighted the teacher because we are in that context, or a doctor. People who traffic children for sexual purpose are also punishable under the provisions relating to abatement in the said act. The said act prescribes stringent punishment graded as per the gravity of the offense with a maximum term of rigorous imprisonment for life and fine. So you go into POCSO law to see what are the punishments that are given, how many years of imprisonment and fine, how much is the fine, etc. We can look into. I will not, though in the slides that is also here, I will not be dealing with that much because of lack of time. So it's a vulnerable adults, even though they are 18 years above, still abuse of the sexual abuse of them is considered equal to child sexual abuse. So child sexual abuse occurs whenever a child is tricked, trapped, coerced, or bribed into sexual experience, activity stimulating the perpetrator, the abuser. The imbalance of power due to age, size, position, experience, or authority is there. So, person who is adult, who is more powerful, more stronger than child, and they have positions, they have more experience. So these are, because of that, this abuse is very having a bigger influence on the children, because we know that children, among the children themselves, there are sexual plays, etc., which may not have so much an impact as when an adult is doing it on them. So this sexual abusive behaviors, the act of sexual violence can be hands-on or hands-off. So there is direct contact or without having contact on the body of the person. Hands-on, the sexual touching above or underneath the clothes, masturbation or penetration. These are all hands-on sexual behaviors. Hands-off means abuse without actually touching the minor. What are some of these hands-off non-contact sexual behaviors? Acts which expose a child to sexual activity. So, okay, the photography, exposing the nudity, etc. No, filming of a child in a sexual manner, sexual harassment. You allow this and I will take your picture like this, nude picture, but you will get more marks. Okay, if you are a teacher telling it, so it's a quid pro quo. You give me one favor, I give you another favor. Or teasing the sexual child with the sexual overtones. These are all sexual abuses, hands off. Leading the children to prostitution or sexual trafficking, etc. Also, behaviors like sexy talks and statements the perpetrators make about the child regarding child sexual attributes. You're looking at the girl, telling, "Oh, you are very sexy." Oh, so this type of comments are abusive talks or exposure. Perpetrator showing the victim his or her intimate parts, breast, penis, vagina, and etc., or masturbating in front of the victim, etc., is also abusive behavior. Voyeurism, peeping, looking at the nudity of the children, that is also it's not directly touching, but it is a child sexual abuse, non-contact, child pornography, child prostitution, etc. So there are contact abuses and non-contact abuses. Okay. Remember that child sexual abuse is not a matter of just of a person and a family. If you are as a teacher and saying that a child is having such experiences and you are confronting the parents on this, you are doing the right thing. The parents cannot tell, it is a private matter. My child, what I do with the child is my matter. Who are you to involve or you to question it? No, it's a matter of violence. Any violence is a legal matter. So child sexual abuse being a in an act of violence, it is also a legal matter. So society has a role to play and can intervene to prevent such things happening. Okay. Most of the cases are happening in the family. Though we are telling, okay, we have to have a protocol in our school situations, in our institutes, etc. Most of the cases are happening in the family. More than 80%, 80 to 90% of the cases are happening in the family situations only, by known people. Sometimes by parents, uncles, and who are related to them, brothers, or brother abusing the little girl, the sister, etc. Not by strangers as such, because when it happens from the strangers, children are much more careful, isn't it? We cannot go so close to them. So even if they are offering something, we have to be careful. Parents themselves would be teaching them also those things. So the less cases are there by strangers, raping a little child. But most of the cases are coming from blood relations, especially from stepfathers, living together partners in the world outside. This type of things are more there than in India. There is a more of a situation where abuses happen. So when we are telling about child sexual abuse, we hear this word pedophilia, isn't it? But pedophilia is not the only case of child sexual abuse. Pedophilia is when the person this perpetrator is having attraction only to children, and that too a children below 13 and below. So they are really children. So these people do not have any sexual attraction towards the adults. They are special. And these, most of the pedophiles, though they have an attraction to it, they know it is wrong, so they do not engage in it. So whenever we hear about a child sexual abuse, don't attribute it to the pedophiles. It is said that only around 4% of the cases are coming from pedophilia. They are real pedophilia. The others are situational cases. That means people who are finding these children available in their situations, and so easy target they become. They may have attraction also towards adults if they were available, and children cannot be defending themselves, so they become the targets also. So paraphilia, the pedophilia is really a case of sickness. It comes under in a DSM-5 under paraphilia. It means deviant sexual behavior. So it's only few cases like that. The others are situational type of abuses. But whatever be the case, okay, let's look into what is the impact of child sexual abuse on the victims. It depends on the intensity and duration of the sexual abuse. If this is going on for a long time, naturally, the person will be much more having impact. Even just with one incident also, some of the children will be traumatized. It will have long impact. Their life may be affected permanently. Some of them even commit suicide. So we cannot say that the duration and intensity is always the case. There are cases where even with one incident of abuse, it becomes very traumatic for that person. But generally, intensity and duration is involved. It also depends on the relationship. I told you that most of the cases are actually coming from their own close relations. If the daddy is actually abusing a daughter, naturally, it has got a bigger impact. The child is suspecting the father to be the protector for her. And when this is happening, where she can run to for protection, so the impact will be greater. And also depending on the resources of the children for coping with the incident. Some of the children are having greater capacity for standing on their own leg and able to manage situations, but not many. Children, of course, as we said, they are not having that much power as the elders. They will be to the mercy of the adults. And also the type of social support that the child gets. What happens in India, many of the cases when the child is trying to reveal it. So, for example, a child is telling to mother, "Mommy, this is happening. My daddy is coming to me like this." Mommy will not believe. Mommy will say, "Keep quiet. This is not true," etc. Because her experience or her thinking is that this will not happen. So even when it is coming to the other places, the children are usually scolded off. Ah, it is your problem, you only caused it, etc. They are further blamed. Though that way they are further victimized. So if they are getting social support in the sense, there are people to listen to their stories, they are able to tell what to do, to how to face the situation, how to report it, etc. If such helps are given, the impact will be less. Otherwise, it can be traumatizing and can be having lifelong impact. Of course, the symptoms vary. We cannot say that there is a syndrome like, okay, there are certain sickness, any sickness like schizophrenia. You say these are the symptoms that we find. So this is a syndrome. So we can recognize. But we cannot see from a person just a few symptoms that this is a case of child sexual abuse. Various reactions may come from the victims. So we have to analyze, we have to talk to them, see what is really happening. So, but there are indications, symptoms are there. So intensity of the symptoms also differ in different persons. Some survivors may not have any symptoms at all, no clinical signs may be there. Usually what we find, the impacts are of different sorts: physical, psychological, social, and spiritual. So in all these areas, there can be impacts. So I will tell you a few things of each of them so that physical, short-term impact, long-term impacts can be there. Physiological, of course, we have the children may develop pain disorders or later also, not only when they are children, later on, also they may develop the pain disorders, gastrointestinal illness, gynecological problems, cardiopulmonary symptoms, reduced general state of health, chronic diseases, sexual transmitted diseases, sterility, substance abuse, obesity, eating disorders. Some forms of cancer also can be coming from child sexual abuses. Psychological indicators, depression, anger. Child is always with a lot of anger, anxiety, sadness. They don't know how to express. Also, always seen very sad, very anxious. If you notice also teachers, some of the children who are very active and very nice, very work, also standing out in education, all of a sudden losing their grades, they are showing a lot of anxiety and sadness. They are not talking, they are not interacting with other children, etc. Suspect something. Suspect something. It's an indication. It does not say immediately mean that there is a sexual abuse happening, but it is an indication. It can happen also because of development of the child, isn't it? At 14, 15 years and all, as a child is becoming towards an adult and reaching the maturity, there can be such symptoms also. So we have to engage with the children and see what is really happening. Is it an abuse case? Anxiety disorders, substance abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and all this is later that may happen. Okay, not in an Indian context, it may be less, but for men abused, okay, there can be many more. So the child, these children may have thinking about suicide. Life is not worth, and there is nothing to hope for. I am abused. So suicidal thoughts, and some people attempt also. Some people are committing suicide because of this. It can be also connected to post-traumatic stress disorders, and something that is traumatic, very serious incident that happened in life. So like fire or drowning experience, etc., or accident. So we call those symptoms that appear after that post-traumatic stress disorder. Even after an abuse, child abuse experience, there can be post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, sleeping disorders. The child cannot sleep, or eating disorders. We said sexual disorders, So psychological impacts in relation to the self and others, a feeling of disempowerment. I cannot do anything. I am not powerful. So because as child, when they were abused, they did not have the power to resist. The other person was more powerful. So a general disempowerment will take place for such people. Doubt about themselves. Oh, am I, what is this? Am I a girl? Am I a boy? A boy who is abused by another adult may feel that, am I a gay? Is that the reason why I am abused? Low self-esteem, a sense of guilt. It is I who committed this. I am only attracted. So this type of feeling, even though they are not responsible, children who, cannot be responsible for the act actually, even when they have collaborated, or they may be getting some sweets because that is what is offered by the adult in return. When child is telling, feeling that she has collaborated, etc. In fact, they cannot be collaborating. They don't have an informed understanding of what is the repercussions of it, what is going on, what is his act, etc. So we have to, if we come across such children who are themselves saying, I am guilty of it, you will have to say, it is not your fault. It is the adult who has done it. You are a victim of it. Okay. It will have a great impact on the identity of the child. The person is feeling dirty in their body. So in our identity formation, the body is so important, isn't it? So we should have an appreciation of our body. A person who is abused will have a very negative impression about the body. So that is why they get into overeating and drinking and finally became more obese, etc. also. So the identity is lost also some way, meaning as a girl or a boy, small or tall, healthy or not, etc. These are all affected. It ruins the positive meaning of the body. They feel defiled, dirty, and therefore ashamed and unworthy. Naturally, the impact will be social also. They will not deal with others as if they are equal. Other companions, they will be afraid of talking. They feel that they are not worthy. Emotionally, it creates a lot of sadness, profound despair, long-lasting sense of inadequacy, not belonging to this world. I want to disappear from this world. This is why suicidal thoughts also come. A lot of fears that may come in. It can bring depression, anxiety disorders, etc. Socially, they will withdraw, big powerlessness, loss of trust. So they get into silence. They feel shame. They feel a desire to disappear. Difficulties to relate to the other people later on when they marry. They find difficulty also to relate sexually with their own partners. So relating with co-workers, employers, and all will be also a problem. They withdraw, they isolate themselves. Inferiority feelings, comparing with others, I am nowhere, nobody, etc. They stay away from other people. From men, for example, fear of the men, avoid being alone with the people such as family members. If you find such indications in your own family or in the children that you are taking care of, attend to them. Okay. So I don't go into further in those things because of lifetime. You can go into this PowerPoint that is sent to you. See even the effect on the brain after a child sexual abuse experience, traumatic experience. Normal brain and PTSD brain is different. Post-traumatic stress disorder is also case of as I said, case of trauma experience. So the POCSO Act of 2012 tells about different punishment, different, okay, here, this also I don't deal here. Each chapter is giving this details. In the second chapter, as we saw the introductory part I have already given you, in the second chapter, it tells about the punishments for child sexual abuse, where it is a penetrative sexual assault and punishment, the terror, if that is an incident. So what will be the punishment? Shall not be less than 7 years of imprisonment, etc. Is said. It will be aggravated. The B part, it says aggravated penetrative sexual assault and punishment for therefore. So if we who are participants in this school and other institutes, etc., we have an aggravated punishment. So it will be much more if there is a penetrative type of behaviors coming from any of us members, staff members, etc. The punishment will be much severe. It will be, I think, a rigorous punishment for term which shall not be less than 10 years. Okay, remember that. Sexual assault and punishment for aggravated, so I don't go into those things. Pornography. If you are having pornographic materials in your computer of the children and showing the children such materials, etc., punishment. Also, law makes it. Abatement of any attempt to commit an offense. If we are helping another person to commit an offense, that's also punished. The chapter 5 of the POCSO law tells procedures for reporting the cases. So how if you come across a case, in our institute, one of the person is suspected to be having child sexual behaviors, abusive behaviors, then you are supposed to report it. See what the law tells in 19th paragraph. Number U might not be 11. It may be. Notwithstanding anything contained in the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, any person who has apprehension that an offense under this act is likely to be committed or has knowledge that such an offense has been committed, he shall provide such information to the Special Juvenile Police Unit or to the local police. So that is our responsibility. So if, okay, we want to create also local guardian, local people who are you are managing. So your duty is to report to those persons in our institute itself who is the child sexual abuse issues manager. Okay, so there will be people interested with that care in our institutes. So any person who fails to report, they will be punished also 6 months or punishment, imprisonment, or with fine. If you are in the charge of institution, it's not 6 months, it will be more than 1 year or more. So if you are reporting, you will not be punished for that. Okay, if you are doing it in good faith, if you are purposefully tarnishing the name of somebody else, you are bringing a false complaint, you will be punished for that. Okay, so you cannot, because you can't take advantages of law and take revenge on somebody by giving a petition against a person about child sexual abuses. You will be punished for that. So punished with imprisonment, 6 months or so, and fine. NGOs are supposed to also report. Okay. So what we need to do, we need to create a protective atmosphere in our campuses. So what is this possibility? What is the risk? What is the protective factors? So there are risk factors, suppose. Okay, if the institute is not having this protective measures, it's a risk factor, isn't it? So by definition, risk factors means whatever the things that will increase the possibility of sexual violence. Risk factors are characteristics which are associated with an increased statistical risk of sexualized violence. So if there are, in our situation, not sufficient protective measures are not given, so it is a risk. So it may be connected to child itself, risk factors of the child. If the child is very weak or sickly, and all, of course, in the family also, there is a possibility of more of abuse. If the child is left alone at home, for example, okay, characteristic of the childhood means psychological characteristic also. Whether this child was deprived of love and affection, so the craving for love child, so looking for anybody who offers something, and finally child sexual behaviors itself becomes a way of satisfying such needs. So characteristic of the child on one side. Family factors, whether in the family this is the father is a drunkard, for example, he is an educated person or not, education may be or not necessarily be a protective factor, but increase, okay, awareness at least. So family factors can be different. The characteristic of parents, the mother is sickly and bedridden, for example, and the child takes over the duties of the mother, and then for the father can be also abusing sexually also children. So family factors can be a factor. Many other things. I'm not giving everything here, not possible. Society factors, factors that are connected to the society. If a child, if we are not even talking about it, if there's such issues are there in the society, if such a big thing is happening in India and we never talk about it and bring about changes. So this is a factor that increases the possibility of violence, sexual violence, isn't it? So the adults also know those who are violating, nothing will happen. Nobody is going to report because they are afraid of it, or they are shamed by it. They cannot face the repercussions if daddy is put in the prison, etc. No. So social factors can be a big thing. Support is not given by the others, family members, etc. So these are the problems. So protective factors, on the other hand, what is a healthy environment that can be there, which will prevent these things to happen? Abuse will happen. So having making the people who are abused very difficult for them to have access to the children, increasing, they have to increase their effort. For example, as it is put in the right side, the cameras are there, CCTV is there all over, so they are watched. So that will certainly restrain the person who are looking for abusing. No? If protective factors like that are put in the campuses, in areas where there is a possibility of abuses, so these things will increase the risk for those people who are abusing. Okay, or the children themselves are taught how to make no, say no, etc. So there are situational crime prevention measures which can be used here in this child sexual abuse case also. So changing the offender's disposition, that is rather difficult. By reducing the opportunities, that is what we can do for crime reduction of the crime. So as I said, this is to be attended to by child situations, family institutions, creating situations in the family where parents are educated, parents are told what are the measures to be taken for protecting the children. So it is a duty of all the institutes also, our schools and colleges should create such atmosphere for the family also, educating the parents in this matters, how to take care of or to avoid this situations of risk for the children, what the society can do. I was just surprised in the newspaper. This came, I think, around last year in the newspaper. The society, how the society is like, look at the right side part where it is that when this girl was raped and then she was looking for help from neighbors. What is written there in the down this the right side part? Unaware of what to do, the girl approached her neighbors who refused to help her, saying it was common, and asked her not to stage any drama. This girl came from Orissa and in Bangalore, coming for work, and the one who brought her here is abusing her every day, sexually abusing. So she is trying to get out of it. What the people who are heard about the story is telling, don't make a fuss of it. It is normal. Don't make it up. See, if this is the type of response the society is giving, how can we reduce the possibility such this problem, child sexual abuse from our society? So we have a bigger responsibility. Let me put this this small video for you. All right.
The bus will be coming anytime now. Leave.
This is me, Komal. I'm 9 years old. I love my school so much. some of my friends are naughty at times.
And best
But even I'm naughty sometimes, na?
Komal Kumar.
My mama is fun, but she can be strict also. So what? She takes care of you also, na? Says Papa. But I still like Papa more.
Hey, Bakshi!
Hey,
What a
Kumar.
surprise!
Papa's
Long
old
time,
friends,
huh?
Bakshi uncle and auntie, are our new neighbors.
Oh, hello. Who is this sweet little girl?
It would have been better if they had children for me to play with. Thank you. Bakshi uncle is dropping me to school. Papa was getting late to work, na? That's why. Uncle is very sweet. Auntie's a very busy woman. But uncle works from home only. They have such a nice house. And it is full of pretty things. Wow, unicorn!
It's okay. You can tell Mama you got it from me. Or you don't have to tell her.
Even Papa doesn't play with me so much. Bakshi uncle is so much more fun.
Where is my little doll? Where did she vanish? Oh, you must be here. Yes, gotcha.
He even took me out to eat gola once. Please don't tell Mama, huh? She might get angry. She's strict, na? I wanted to tell Mama, but I was afraid. So what if I had gola? Anyway, all my friends eat it.
Hey, you want to play a new game? A secret game.
Yeah, that will be fun.
Come with me.
What are you doing, Uncle? What kind of game is this? I'm totally confused. It felt dirty. Why did Bakshi Uncle do it? I feel so dirty.
Komal? Is everything okay? Hello, Mrs. Kumar. I wanted to speak to you regarding Komal. Beta, why are you sad? Did someone say anything to you in school? What happened? Did someone hurt you? If you don't tell me, my dear, how can I help you?
I have secrets. I have lied to you about the gola. And now this. I feel very dirty. You would be very angry if I told you what I have done.
No, I promise you I won't be angry. I love you, don't I? Then trust me.
He is not a nice uncle.
Which uncle? No, wait. Everyone will know.
Then what can we do? Whose help can we seek? We can't let Bakshi get away with this.
Childline. My friend Priya works there. They help children.
10, 9, 8.
Hello. Komal, I know what happened to you was not your fault at all. We will ensure that your Bakshi uncle can never see you again. Let me show you how to keep yourself safe. Hi kids. How are you all today?
Good morning, Didi.
Have you ever been in a situation that made you feel uncomfortable?
Yes, Didi. When my little dog chews away my shoe, I get very angry.
That's true. What I mean is, has anyone touched you in a way that made you uneasy? Which of you have experienced this? So then, how do we know if someone is doing something wrong or touching us the wrong way? Here, let me explain. We all need to have our own personal space in our body. There are 4 zones which should not be touched by anyone, and nor should you touch anyone else's part. Mouth, chest, the part between your legs and buttocks. These are your personal spaces. Only the most trusted people, like your mother, may see and touch you in your personal spaces. So tell me, when you come home from school and your mama gives you a hug,
Okay. Well, okay, so we go it. Okay, just giving you a small video, which is we can see the whole thing from the YouTube. Just put Komal and then you will find it. Okay, the story of the Komal. So we have only very little time left, so I will go further. A few more things I will just highlight, and then we will finish with that. So we have created a protocol. Okay, so that in that we have highlighted what are the salient features. Probably you have already gone through all this. What is the thing that is suspected in our behaviors, say environment that we need to create, what are the procedural norms for dealing with the cases if a case occurs, etc. That's one. So you are committing to that, and you have, of course, you can look into there also the POCSO law and other parts of it. Okay, you are making a commitment also, telling that I will be a person who honors, respect children, and I will not be a cause for harm to the children. Rather, I will be promoting the well-being of the children. So some of the statements that are there before you are signing, you have to read naturally these things, what you are committing to, because you are part of this create what our plan, our interest from the part of our institutes to create a safe environment for the children. So it is only limited things. What I was telling you is to address this issue at a larger level, say involvement in the society, as our institutes can reach out to many parents and others, creating an awareness in the society. Much more we can do rather than just limiting our interest of this thing only to our school things and deciding that, oh, I will not be an abuser. That is only a little part of it. How I can promote, that is the question that we should be doing. What are the behaviors that I will not be doing which will be abusive? That is stated there. I will know general statement. So you read that later. I'm making a commitment by signing it and having a witness also to do that. This you have to do it and entrust it to the college or school or institutes that you are working. Okay. So our duty is to commitment to safeguard. What we can do. So all of us are to be engaged in it and collaborate with the government in this matter also. Government also, when they produced this POCSO law, it was also for preventing such things happening in the society. So we have to address that. So what our question is, what could be done in your places for the safeguarding your minors? What care will you take care about yourself also in protecting? It may be small things that you are able to do, but that is already a big thing to do. Starting creating a culture of protection and awareness in the society, so we can create a future for the children. So that way we can transform also the world. As Nelson Mandela has put it, it is in your hands to create a better world for all who live in it, particularly for the children. And the best way to do it is to educate. Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. So if we have to change our society also, radical changes, systemic changes required, education is the best. So be participants in that. Okay, that is what we want. So with that, let me stop here for some interaction. We don't have much time, but if you are ready, I can go in any minutes forward also, no problem. Okay, any questions or anything that you want to share, or any additional idea that you felt to share, that's okay. It's not necessarily I only should be speaking. Over to you all. You can unmute before you speak, okay? You are all there listening? Oh, so, yeah. You are there. That's all. Chat. Okay. We did not see any questions there. Okay. Yeah. What questions emerge? What do you feel the responsibility? How you feel engaged into this task that is there with us? So when
Good
you are,
evening.
yes. Come
Good
on.
evening, Father.
Good evening.
It's really wonderful session, and I'm Nikhila myself, one of
Yes,
the
Nagela. Yes.
staff members of St. Claret's in Alajarla.
Okay.
Uh, I want to go a quick story, which is a real incident which I heard recently.
It should take only a little time, huh, because
Yes,
we want to
very,
listen also.
it's just a minute, Father.
Okay.
So as you said, children's also are involved in the sexual abuse. There's a 5-year child who has been sexually abused by 6 members physically. Like the children who abused her are like, the younger one is 11 and the elder one is 16. So
Oh.
mostly, so like
They are
how
not
we
adults.
should deal with, they're not adults, Father.
Yeah, right,
So
right.
there's so many things are going around even in schools like love or vagera, and they don't know what is the meaning of it.
Right.
So we are having
Yeah.
lots of source nowadays, like media, movies, whatever it is, like Google. So how we should deal with the children like them.
See, okay, these are big discourses how to ban,
Yes,
how
yes,
to
I know,
address
Father.
how to address the victims is a big thing. This type of issues of the children abusing children, but when there is an age difference of 5, it is already a child sexual abuse. Remember, okay. So if there is a gap between the victim and the person who is abusing, even if they are younger, if they are still children. Below 18, but if there is a gap of 5 years, it is a child sexual abuse according to our understanding in many countries. Whether in a POCSO law, whether it is defined like that, I am not very sure. Okay. Anyway, for any victim, we need to address, we need to listen to their story first of all. We should not have an attitude, this did not happen. Yet a child who speaks about it, very difficult for them to express actually. They don't have words first of all. And abused children do not know what it is also. So they may say one word or one sentences like that, and from that you have to assume it. So you have to engage with them in an understanding way. That is why you need also some type of a counseling skills and all in order to manage. I would say all the teachers should be having some training also with that. Okay, how to engage in talking with the children, listening to their stories without so much increasing their anxiety and all. When you are making a response like that did not happen, they are not trusted, they are not believed. This goes against their expectation. So the adults should create an atmosphere in which they can talk. That is one of the important things. The other things, of course, I think we need much time to see what are the things to do.
The small thing, Father, can we talk directly with the children about the sexual process when we are talking to them, like the awareness program or something? Can we talk with them directly or no? I'm having a doubt about it.
Certainly. Actually, in college, in schools and colleges and all, we need to have sexual education in this matters. Also, making them aware what is the in that small video that I have shown. That teacher is explaining to the children what are the places when touched it is an abuse. So in their own language, in their own way, understand. We have to explain. Use such images. Actually in the internet you will find a lot of materials like this used in India also. That this particular one is also very good. There are many things coming from USA actually for teaching the children how they can manage themselves. They can recognize an abuse also teaching the parents for that matter, to educate the children. Hey, this is dangerous. This is not correct. That's etc. To make them also report it to mother or somebody who is responsible when the abuse is happening. These things have to be taught. So as teachers, we can do a lot for educating the children to recognize the things that would be abusive, and then we can speak certainly directly, but common to the students. Of course, they don't have that language. They may not have, but more than sometimes what we think they know, because today a lot of
So
materials
that's
are
what I
there.
asked the question, Father.
Yeah, right. So even if you are speaking, they will take it. They will understand.